It's a Wednesday afternoon in October and I'm parked outside a Panera Bread on Rockside Road in a delivery van with my name on the side, and I'm staring at my phone like it's going to tell me something different if I look at it long enough. The screen shows the Find My app. Family sharing. 4 dots on the map. Mine, blue, sitting exactly where I am in the Panera parking lot. My older daughter Kayla, green, at her college dorm in Akron where she's supposed to be. My son Tyler, yellow, showing his location as a residential address on Chestnut Hill Drive in Broadview Heights. And my wife's dot, red, sitting on top of Tyler's dot. At the same address on Chestnut Hill Drive. Tyler is 10 years old. He's in 4th grade at Elmwood Elementary. He gets off the bus at 3:15 and walks home. Our house is on Maple Crest Drive. Chestnut Hill Drive is 6 miles away. It's 3:48 p.m. I call Tyler's Apple Watch. He picks up on the second ring. Hey Dad. Hey Bud. Where are you right now? A pause. Short, but there. At home, he says. I look at the map. The yellow dot has not moved. You sure? I say. Another pause. Longer this time. Yeah, he says. I'm at home. I look at the red dot sitting 6 miles from our house. My wife's phone, perfectly still, at an address I've never been to. My son just lied to me. A 10-year-old covering for his mother because she put him in that position. I put the van in drive. But let me start from the beginning. My name is Paul Greer. I'm 48 years old and I've been driving delivery routes in the greater Cleveland area for 22 years. Started with UPS right out of high school. Moved to a regional food service distributor 12 years ago, Restaurant Supply, mostly. I run the South Corridor now, which means I'm in the van by 6 a.m. and I'm usually done by 3 or 3:30 depending on the day. Good job. Predictable. I know every road in Cuyahoga and Summit counties better than most people know their own neighborhood. My wife is Renee. Renee Greer, née Holloway. She's 44. She works 3 days a week as a dental office receptionist at a practice in Parma. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 9 to 3. The other days she's home, handles Tyler's school pickup, manages the household. We've been married 17 years. We have Kayla, who's 19 and in her second year at University of Akron studying nursing, and Tyler, who is 10 and currently obsessed with Minecraft and collecting baseball cards. We live in a split level on Maple Crest Drive in Seven Hills. 3 bedrooms, a finished basement, a 2-car garage I mostly use for 1 car and too many boxes. It's a good house in a quiet neighborhood. The kind of street where kids still ride bikes after dinner and neighbors shovel each other's driveways. For 17 years we've been exactly who we appeared to be. Not perfect. We'd had rough patches, a bad year financially when the distributor cut hours during COVID, some friction when Kayla left for college and the house felt different. But nothing that felt unfixable. Nothing I'd have described as broken. The Apple Watch had been Tyler's birthday gift in August. He'd wanted one for 2 years. We got him the Series 9, the small 41mm case, in blue aluminum. Set it up as a family device, school mode during class hours, location sharing on at all times, limited contacts. The location sharing was Renee's idea, actually. She said it gave her peace of mind knowing where he was. I thought about that later. Quite a bit. The first thing I noticed that was wrong was small enough that I almost didn't notice it at all. It started in September. About 6 weeks before the Wednesday in the Panera parking lot. Renee had always been easy to reach. If I called during the day, she picked up or called back within 10 minutes. It was just how she was, she kept her phone on her, she was responsive.
17 years of that as a baseline.
In September it changed.
Not dramatically. Not all at once.
But I started getting voicemail on calls I wouldn't have gotten voicemail on before.
Texts that took 40 minutes to an hour to get responses. At first once or twice a week.
Then more often. I mentioned it once, casually, said it seemed like she was harder to reach lately.
She said the dental office had been busier and she couldn't always step away. Made sense. I let it go.
Then there was the Wednesday in late September when I got home at 3:20 and Tyler wasn't there. Renee had texted me at 2:45 saying she was picking Tyler up from school and they were going to run errands.
I got home, they weren't there. Fine. But they didn't come home until 5:40.
I asked where they'd gone and Renee said Target and then the grocery store. Tyler was quiet at dinner in a way that wasn't quite his normal quiet.
I didn't say anything. I filed it.
The third thing was the perfume.
Different scent on Wednesdays and Fridays, the days she worked.
I know her perfume the way you know the smell of your own house.
She's worn Clinique Happy for years.
Light, clean, familiar. In September she started wearing something heavier on her work days. When I mentioned it, she said a coworker had given her a sample and she was trying it out.
The sample lasted 6 weeks. By early October I had a low-level current running through me that I couldn't turn off. Not certainty. Not accusation.
Just the electrical feeling that something in the system was wrong and I hadn't found the fault point yet.
I found it on October 11th. I was in the van on my lunch break, eating a sandwich in the parking lot of a restaurant on my route. I had the Find My app open on my phone. I'd been checking it occasionally since we set up Tyler's watch, just habit, making sure he was at school during the day. I'd never paid much attention to the red dot. Renee's phone. It was always home, or at the dental office, or at the grocery store. Predictable. That Wednesday it was at an address on Chestnut Hill Drive in Broadview Heights. It was 12:15 p.m. A Wednesday. She was supposed to be at work until 3. I zoomed in. The dot was sitting still at a residential address, a house, not a business. I put the address into Google Maps. Single-family home. Broadview Heights. No business listing. Nothing notable. I sat there for a few minutes. Then I typed the address into a reverse address lookup site on my phone. The property was owned by a man named Kevin Dorsett. I searched the name. LinkedIn profile, Kevin Dorsett, 46, regional sales manager for a medical device company based in Independence, Ohio. Profile photo, dark hair, medium build, unremarkable. I stared at that photo for a minute. Then I put my phone down, finished my sandwich, and went back to my route. But I started paying attention differently after that.
Over the next 2 weeks I checked the Find My app on my lunch breaks every Wednesday and Friday, her work days. I documented what I found in the Notes app on my phone with timestamps. What I found was a pattern. Wednesday, October 11th, red dot at Chestnut Hill Drive, Broadview Heights. 12:08 p.m. to 1:44 p.m. 1 hour 36 minutes. Friday, October 13th, red dot at same address. 12:15 p.m. to 1:52 p.m. Wednesday, October 18th, same address. 12:03 p.m. to 1:38 p.m. Friday, October 20th, same address. 12:11 p.m. to 1:57 p.m. Wednesday, October 25th, same address. 11:58 a.m. to 1:41 p.m. 5 times in 2 weeks. Always midday. Always on her work days. Always the same address. Always roughly 90 minutes to 2 hours.
The dental practice she worked at was on Broadview Road in Parma.
I looked up the drive time from the practice to Chestnut Hill Drive, 11 minutes.
She was leaving work at lunch, driving 11 minutes to Kevin Dorset's house, staying for 90 minutes, and going back.
I sat with that pattern for 3 days. Then Tyler's watch put his yellow dot 6 miles from home on a Wednesday afternoon and everything accelerated. I want to explain what happened on that Wednesday, October 25th, because I think it's the most important part of this story.
Tyler gets off the bus at 3:15. Normally he walks home, it's 4 blocks, safe neighborhood, he's done it since 3rd grade.
But on Wednesdays Renee finishes work at 3 and she sometimes picks him up from the bus stop depending on weather or errands. When I checked Find My at 3:48 and saw Tyler's yellow dot 6 miles from home at the Chestnut Hill Drive address, my first thought was that something had happened. That she'd picked him up and taken him somewhere and maybe there was a normal explanation. But Tyler told me he was at home. A 10-year-old boy looked at his watch and heard his father's voice and lied, badly, because his mother had told him to.
That was the thing that moved me from gathering information to taking action. Not the GPS. Not the pattern. The fact that my son was being used as cover.
I drove to Chestnut Hill Drive.
I didn't call ahead. I didn't make a plan. I just drove. I pulled up in front of the house at 4:06 p.m. A silver Toyota Highlander in the driveway, Renee's car. A gray Lexus ES350 that I didn't recognize. A split-level house, well-kept, autumn wreath on the door. I sat in the van for about 2 minutes.
Then I called Tyler's watch again.
"Dad?"
His voice was smaller this time.
"Tyler, I need you to put Mom on the phone right now." Long pause. She said she's busy." "Tyler. Put Mom on the phone." I heard movement.
Muffled voices, Tyler saying something, a woman's voice responding quickly, tense. Then Renee's voice, controlled, quiet.
"Paul." "I'm outside," I said. "The van is parked in front of the house. I can see your Highlander." Silence.
"You've got about 30 seconds before I knock on that door," I said.
"I'd rather you came out."
The front door opened 45 seconds later.
Renee came out first, then Tyler, then a man I recognized from the LinkedIn photo. Kevin Dorset. He looked like his photo, dark hair, medium build, except now he was in a t-shirt and jeans and he had the specific expression of a man who has just been handed a consequence he didn't think was coming. I got out of the van.
I want to be clear about what happened next because I'm aware of how it could sound.
There was no yelling. No physical altercation.
I'm a big man at 6'2", 230 pounds, and I've been in situations over 22 years of delivery routes that taught me the difference between situations you escalate and situations you don't.
This was not a situation I was going to escalate. Tyler ran to me and grabbed me around the waist and didn't say anything.
I put one hand on the back of his head and kept my eyes on Renee. "Get him in the van," I said to her, quietly.
"Then we're going to talk." She walked Tyler to the passenger side. He got in. She stood on the sidewalk.
Kevin Dorset had the sense to stay on the porch.
"How long?" I said. Not a question. Just 2 words. Renee looked at the ground. "Paul." "How long, Renee?" She was quiet for a moment. Then, "Since April." 6 months. Since April. I nodded. I looked at Kevin Dorset on the porch one time. He looked away first. "Get a lawyer," I said to Renee. "I'll be calling one tomorrow morning." I got in the van. Tyler was in the passenger seat with his seatbelt on, staring straight ahead. I started the engine. "Dad," he said. "Yeah, bud. I'm sorry I lied." I reached over and put my hand on his shoulder for a second. "You didn't do anything wrong," I said. "None of this is on you. Not one bit of it." I pulled away from the curb and drove home. The attorney I called the next morning was a woman named Sandra Chu. She ran a family law practice in Independence. My co-worker at the distributor, a guy named Marcus who'd gone through a divorce 3 years prior, had recommended her without hesitation. He said she was organized, unemotional, and relentless with documentation. I walked into her office with my phone, opened the Notes app, and showed her 5 weeks of Find My timestamps. Then I showed her the October 25th entries, Tyler's watch at Chestnut Hill Drive, my call log, the timestamps of when I arrived at the address. She looked through it quietly. "Did you take any photos at the scene?" she asked. I hadn't. I told her that. She said it was fine. My presence at the address, the vehicle confirmations, the GPS pattern, and Tyler's location data constituted a solid documented record. She recommended we also retain a forensic accountant to review joint finances. I authorized it on the spot. The forensic accountant's name was David Park. He worked with Sandra regularly and he came back to us in 9 days. What he found was this: over a 7-month period beginning in March, 1 month before Renee said the affair started, $14,200 had been moved from our joint savings into a personal checking account in Renee's name at a different bank. Transfers of $500 to $1,200 at a time. Irregular intervals to avoid patterns. 12 transfers total. Sandra's read on the March start date: Renee had been planning. The financial separation began before the affair did, or at the same time it began. She'd been building a buffer. David Park also flagged something else. The dental practice Renee worked for 3 days a week, 9 to 3, had payroll records showing she'd been clocking out at noon on Wednesdays and Fridays consistently since May. She was working half days and telling me she was working full days. The practice's office manager, when contacted through proper legal channels, confirmed the schedule discrepancy without hesitation. Apparently Renee had told them she had a standing personal commitment at midday on those days. 90 minutes twice a week for 6 months. On my time. In my marriage. While my son covered for her. There was a development I didn't anticipate. 2 weeks after I served Renee the divorce papers, Sandra had them ready within 10 days of our first meeting. I got a call from a woman named Patricia Dorsett. Kevin Dorsett's wife. She'd found out. I don't know exactly how. I hadn't contacted her, hadn't sent anything, hadn't told anyone outside of Sandra's office and my brother. But word moves in ways you can't always track, and Patricia Dorsett had done her own investigating apparently, and she had arrived at the same destination I had from a different direction. She called me because she wanted to know if what she'd found was real. I told her I was sorry she was going through it. I told her yes, it was real, and I had documentation if she needed it for her own legal situation. She thanked me. She was calm the way people are calm when they've already cried everything out and what's left is just the work of dealing with it. She retained her own attorney the following week. Kevin Dorsett, as far as I know, lost his Chestnut Hill Drive house in the subsequent proceedings. I didn't follow it closely. It wasn't my business to follow. Renee and I went through the divorce over the winter. It was not easy and it was not quick, but it was, ultimately, not contested in the way it could have been. Her attorney, a man named Bruce Geller, reviewed Sandra's documentation package and apparently advised Renee that a fight would cost more than it would gain. The $14,200 dissipation came directly off her share of the marital assets. The house was listed in January and sold in March. After the mortgage payoff and the asset division, I walked away with enough to put a solid down payment on a smaller place in the same school district, a ranch on Fieldstone Drive,
2 bedrooms plus a bonus room I set up as Tyler's, a garage, a backyard with a fence that actually doesn't need anything done to it.
Tyler's primary residence is with me. He goes to Renee's every other weekend and one weeknight. He still wears the Apple Watch.
He's added 2 new contacts, Sandra Chu's office number, because I figured he should have an adult he could call who wasn't family, and his baseball coach. He hasn't brought up that Wednesday in Broadview Heights since the night it happened. He processed it the way 10-year-olds process things, by going back to baseball cards in Minecraft and needing to be driven to practice on Tuesdays.
I follow his lead.
When he's ready to talk about it more, I'll be here. Kayla took it harder, partly because she was away and felt the distance from it. She came home for a weekend in February and we sat up late at the kitchen table after Tyler was asleep and she asked me questions I answered as honestly as I could without putting more weight on her than she needed.
She's a good kid. She's going to be a good nurse.
She handles hard information the way you want a nurse to handle it, directly, without flinching, and with genuine care.
I want to say something about the Apple Watch. Because I've thought about it a lot. Renee was the one who suggested family location sharing when we set up Tyler's watch. At the time I thought it was about monitoring a 10-year-old, which it was.
But it also meant her dot was always visible to me, which she must have known. She took that risk for 7 months and it didn't catch her until it did, because she brought Tyler into it.
That's the thing about cutting corners. You can manage a GPS dot on a map.
You can cover your tracks with cash transfers under $1,000. You can keep a story straight for 6 months. But the moment you put a 10-year-old in the middle of it and ask him to lie to his father, you've introduced a variable you can't fully control.
Because kids are honest in the ways that matter. In the pauses. In the voice. In the way he said I'm at home and every nerve in my body knew it wasn't true. A $399 Apple Watch and a 10-year-old who couldn't quite sell the lie. That's what ended it.
The divorce was finalized on February 28. I remember the exact date because I took Tyler to a Cleveland Monsters hockey game that night, AHL, not NHL, but Tyler loves it more than the big league games for reasons I've never fully understood and have stopped questioning. We sat in the lower bowl on the blue line. The Monsters won 4-2. Tyler got a foam finger and a hot dog and spent most of the third period explaining to me the specific defensive zone positioning of a player he decided was underrated. I watched him explain it with full seriousness and absolute authority and I thought, there he is.
He's okay. We're going to be okay. We drove home on the highway with the radio on low and the city lights moving past the windows and Tyler fell asleep in the passenger seat somewhere around the I-77 interchange, which he's been doing since he was 3 years old, and I drove the rest of the way in the quiet and it was fine. It was genuinely fine. I'm writing this in September. 7 months since the finalization. The ranch on Fieldstone Drive is good. Tyler's room is set up exactly the way he wanted it. I built a shelf for his baseball card binders along one wall, proper shelving, level and anchored, the way you build things when you want them to last. I still drive the same route. South Corridor, Cuyahoga, and Summit counties. I know every road. I'm in the van by 6 a.m. and done by 3:30. I still check the Find My app sometimes, Tyler's watch, yellow dot, school or home or baseball practice. Right where he's supposed to be. The red dot isn't on my screen anymore. I deleted it sometime in November, between the papers being served and the finalization. I don't remember the exact day. Just remember that one afternoon I opened the app and decided I didn't need to see it anymore. The map looked cleaner after that.